So, welcome, T. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you both. Thank you for asking me to join you today.
We cover half the world. You're in the Caribbean. I'm in England, and
hmm
Pontus is in Sweden. So we're having a very international conversation.
Yeah. I'd rather be in the Caribbean, though.
Not at the moment. We are having English weather.
English weather, that sounds bad.
I know you have your hurricane season as well.
Well, we are actually out of hurricane season and we're supposed to be in sunny side season because our carnival is coming up at the end of the month. So everybody is watching it with a side eye.
Well, for us Angelina Jordan fans, every day is carnival.
I just had my Angelina Jordan live stream and it was fantastic. I told everybody I was coming here today, so we will be getting an even bigger bunch of people.
Okay, okay.
Cool.
And did you tell them what we would be talking about?
Yes, I did. And you forgot it was Andy who basically gave me your message.
Okay. And when did you first discover Angelina?
Well, I first discovered AJ about 3 years ago. But at that time, I had stopped doing anything with YouTube at that point in time. I had just seen I put a spell on me, like everybody else in the world. And I just thought she was a marvel. I couldn't believe that this young kid had such a fantastic voice. And I really didn't know her. But I did know Screaming Jay Hawkins because he was a favorite of my granddad's.
I put a spell on you. Because you're mine.
And he introduced me to jazz and all of that. So I was very interested in who in heaven's name could possibly cover this the way he did. And then when I saw a little kid, I was like, this has to be a gimmick. But when she opened her mouth, I was like,
put a spell on you because you're mine.
and I knew I had to do everything in my power to find out who this girl was. But I only saw, I think, one other video. And then I got into the channel. And the second video I ever did, I immediately got, you've got to do Angelina Jordan. She just came out with Million Miles. And could you possibly do it? And so my very first video that I ever did was the lyrical version of Million Miles. She literally had just released the song. And I did it and cried like a baby.
We're a million miles apart. It's pulling my heart.
It was the first time I had cried on camera. I was like so apologetic because I thought I was being such a nuisance. But apparently it had that effect on many people. And for the first time I found I was not alone in my feelings. And it opened the entire angel world to me. And I have become an angel myself ever since.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why Pontus and I started this podcast, because we basically want to answer the question, why are you crying? And because when people cry, they don't analyze, they just cry. But the emotional complex around the Angelina tears, we've had 30 episodes, but we can have 300 episodes about that because it's really, really deep and rich, and it varies with everyone.
In my case, it was a very simple thing. Both my parents had died, and they both died within 1 year of each other. And unfortunately, I didn't get to say goodbye to either of them. And so it hit me home really, really hard. And I have never been one to really study it too much. I didn't really take the time to grieve as I should. And so this song was the first song that actually put me in that kind of, box that I had to deal with my feelings and the regret of not saying goodbye to them. So all of that was going through my head and I just lost it on camera. So for that reason, that song still remains my favorite ever.
I actually remember that reaction from you. It was several years ago, but I still remember that
Yes.
reaction you had because it was so powerful. That's pretty common, I think, that people get hit by grief, but they don't take the time to grieve. They don't let it out. They don't cry.
Yeah.
And I remember we had one on our podcast say that it wasn't until he heard Million Miles that he could get that kind of release and that kind of flow of tears going. And I think that's so important. And that song in itself, it's almost like a gift to us that have been grief struck. It's such a beautiful thing that Angelina did there.
We say in English, real men don't cry, but what we should say is real men should cry, because we have feelings, and feelings are basic and real, and you can put them under a rock and you can put them under 20 rocks, but they're still there.
But what do you think is the key when Angelina is singing, that she can release that kind of feeling or get us in that kind of mode?
I have actually asked that very same question to my fans, and I have thought about it because I suffer from insomnia very badly, and there are very few people that put me to sleep. Angelina has to be on that playlist every night, every single night, otherwise I cannot sleep. She has an encompassing delivery for me. She makes me laugh, cry, sleep, puts me in a joyous mood, makes me proud as if the girl was my child. And so the number one reason is that she has that innate ability that most singers will kill for, pay for, and that is empathy. And it comes across in her vocals, it comes across in her words. It's just the minute she starts to sing, it goes beyond her vocal ability. It has to do with her personality and also the way that she connects with her audience. And the number one thing I keep getting in my mind is that she has empathy, the ability to take whatever song she's singing, whether it's a cover, her original, or whatever, and not only make it her own, but make it a part of her, which is the reason why we always say, well, Angelina sings that song better than the original. I don't think it's her vocal ability, although we can't even begin to start with her vocal ability, but it's the way that AJ makes the song resonant with you, with the audience. She's like this vessel that it flows through, and once it touches her, it's like the on switch, that a song that you would have said is nice and really disregarded the lyrics of, she makes you look and hear the lyrics. And a good example of that, Alan, was Purple Rain that we did together.
Yeah.
I never really listened, like really taking the lyrics of Purple Rain until she sang it. Yeah. And I was like, God smacked.
Purple rain, purple rain, purple rain, purple rain.
What she does, she captures a certain type of wail when she sings, where she sings as if she's crying, but it is such an artistic creation, the way she cries, that it triggers a similar response in us. She's taken the creation of crying to a new level because she captures something with her vocal. Some people may call it jazz, but it's the trembling tremolo in her voice, which really sounds as if she's crying.
Yeah, she has a very distinct vibrato, and I think that's part of the
appeal.
Yeah, that is very rare to have that kind of ability. One reason why we can let go of our own feelings is because she makes us feel safe in a way. I know I felt that very, very powerful when I heard her the first time I was Bohemian Rhapsody. And I felt almost at once that this girl, she has everything under control. I can just relax and just enjoy the moment because I don't have to worry that she does anything wrong. I'm the person that sort of gets embarrassed when people make some mistakes.
It's funny because you mentioned that you have insomnia and you use Angelina Jordan to help you sleep. I'm just the opposite. I have insomnia because I wake up at night and I think of pop-ups of what I'm going to add to my next video. But it's a delicious type of insomnia because the best time for me to come up with my pop-ups is 3 and 4 in the morning when I'm half awake and half asleep.
Well, she has a different effect on everybody, and that's what makes her so unique, because you can gather 10 angels in a room, and the only thing that you're gonna get the same is that they love Angie, because the why and the how and the when is totally different. She brings people from all over the world, all walks of life, even from all different lovers of genres, because I see people who are rock lovers, jazz lovers, punk lovers, contemporary pop, whatever. AJ. They have one common denominator, and that's AJ. And I totally agree with you in the point that her vibrato is uniquely her own. You can close your eyes, you can be away from a screen, but the minute you hear her vibrato, you know it's AJ. You know she's singing. She has very, very unique tone, and that's a very unique thing as far as having that ability to master an audience. Yeah. And I love what you said about her keeping us safe. I never really thought about it, but you're absolutely correct, because that is the one thing that she does. She makes you feel safe enough to share emotions that you didn't even know you had. Yeah. Safe enough to come out of your shell to engage with people, because some people are not big talkers, or they would watch my channel for years and never say anything. And then I do an AJ song and they're writing, and they join the live streams, and it was like, I never do this for anybody else. And so she gives you that safety net. Perfectly said.
We can talk about her vibrato, and we can talk about her tone, and we can talk about her phrasing. But it's like if I were a chemist and I would say, right, well, we have carbon and we have oxygen and we have hydrogen. So how is it that human beings exist? We have the chemicals, but then what makes them human beings? And it's the same with Angelina. We can talk about her tone and her vibrato, but what is it that makes a lump of clay into a human being? It's magic.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I can see years and years after we have been dust and grounded and gone, that there will be classes examine that very same question. What made AJ who she is, and how she got to the point in which she got? Because I firmly, firmly believe with all my heart that she is going to be the biggest star in the world. And I think that question is always elusive, because that's what makes magic. The formula that we cannot solve. That's what people are going to go crazy for, because they can come up with all the maybes in the world, and you just don't know. And I am certain you ask her mother, her grandmother, her father, and maybe even AJ herself, and she will probably say, I don't know, I just sing. If you believe in God, you would probably say she's just a gift from God. Yeah, she's just born that way.
I do agree with you that she's going to be the biggest star the world has seen in a long, long time. But I think even more exciting is, what is that going to mean to the world? Because is she going to affect a lot of people like us when she gets like a household name? What will that do to society, really? Because if more and more people are opening up to their feelings, I think this world will be a better place.
Yeah, that's why she wants to sing for the world. But T, going back to your point about how in the future she will be taught at universities, I can imagine her being a specialty in the psychology class about the study of behavior and how people react to her, but also in the philosophy class, because how does this affect your life philosophy and your approach to life? And this is just off the top of my head. Maybe they will teach her in Sunday school about how to be a person of virtue.
But there's some very talented children. For a time, that was the only thing that was on my channel. And you can basically see that their trajectory is going to be massive. But you always had this thought in the back of your head, is you worry about them growing up and if they will retain their same virtues, or they will retain a normalcy in their life. And when the stardom hits, that they won't break apart, and if they have a good backing. I never had that worry with AJ. Never. My worry isn't what AJ becomes. or how she handles it. My worry is how people on the outside are going to react to her, because with the good always comes the bad. For the first time ever, I saw negative comments about AJ, and one, it threw me for a loop, and secondly of all, I was like, okay, this is going to happen. How's it going to affect her? One, and two, I don't think it'll stop her or anything like that, but I wonder if it will affect her negatively or positively, as she has always done, because she's always taken every adversary that she's ever had and made it into a positive. We know that.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering of that question.
I think she's very, very strong psychologically and very resilient. And she has people around her who provide a fortress, but she has her own inner fortress as well. Because she's already 17 and she's been so thoroughly protected, she has such a massive foundation of who she is that she is not going to come unstuck just with a normal life experience or even a bad life experience. I think she is so solid psychologically. I was making the point to Pontus, and I was saying, although Pontus and I both go out of our way not to discuss religion, I reckon Angelina Jordan understands religion from the inside. And she has that as a gift. And she has a lot of very profound spiritual lessons, which are just second nature to her, which a lot of religions try and teach or promote or exhibit, but she has understood that from a very, very young age, and she's internalized those.
Well, I think it isn't to do with religion, but I think that it has everything to do with spirituality. And that's a major difference than religion. Spirituality is a completely different thing. I would say I'm very spiritual, but I'm not religious. And people kind of confuse the two. Being spiritual means you can meet someone on any level, through any religion, through any thought process. And I think that she has the spirituality of a healer, of a teacher, and thank God, she has one of a leader. To that end, I do agree with you, but I don't think religion, more spirituality.
To my mind, maybe I'm naive, I think there's a fair bit of overlap between spirituality and religion. They're not completely separate from each other. But the thing with Angelina also is, I agree she can and should be a leader, but it's so unusual to have a humble leader. Because normally for people to have the limelight, they're either ambitious or they push themselves. Whereas her humility, it actually makes you look closer and deeper at her if you have the time and the patience. But it's really good to have a humble leader.
Indeed. And it goes back to my point with empathy. If you have the ability to understand someone's feelings and where they're coming from, take the time to listen to them, take the time to understand what their needs are, and still come out providing that, because she listens to people. She watches the world, she watches what's happening, she writes lyrics accordingly, and she sings it. And even when she's not doing that, she's picking songs to cover, she always gets it right. She always covers the songs that has the words. It mightn't be how she's covering disco or how she's covering country, but it's the lyrics of the song, because she's interpreting it anyway. And when she says it and when she sings it, you go, oh, okay.
I remember when she was 7 years old and she was singing Gloomy Sunday, and one of the judges said, "Do you know what the song is about?" And she was not going at the age of 7 to say it's about suicide. She said, "It's a sad song." And he said, "Yeah, it is a sad song." And for her to understand that at age of 7, that's really all she needed to understand. But it's every song, really, when she was 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, she captures the nuance of it. She captures the subtlety of it. And so it's easy for a 7-year-old to understand sadness. But how does she capture the nuance with every single song, especially when English is not her first language?
When she said it's about a sad Sunday, I thought that was a brilliant answer. Not that because she was just 7 and couldn't understand that it was about suicide, But in the end, it's a sad song. It's a sad Sunday. That's basically what it is. For whatever reasons, it was a sad Sunday. And she has taken the ability to just make a baseline point of every song without making it complicated. She uncomplicates songs. And that's what people sometimes don't understand. AJ uncomplicates a song to the very basic feelings or the basic understanding that you and me could get from a song. So if a song is about suicide or it's about a love story or a particular kind of love, she doesn't care. It's about love. So feelings that you take from the song, you take from the song. But she just starts off with one very common point. She always finds the common denominator. Yeah. And so I just thought when she said it's a sad song, that it was brilliant. And you ask why, how come she's able to take the nuances no matter what age? And I thought it was because of that. She made it very uncomplicated. And she allowed you to feel how you want to feel about a song without telling you that the song was about this or that.
But why does she have a monopoly on this? Why are not other singers capable of doing this?
Because we go back to the same thing that we don't know. She is an anomaly. She is an enigma that no one knows. I think she doesn't even know.
Pontus and I were talking about this 1 hour ago. It's like saying, which part of the brain has your consciousness? We can talk about that for the next 1,000 years and not find an answer to that.
Yeah. The most important thing is that we just accept this is the way it is, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm a better person because of it. One of the things I'm so fascinated about is so many people say that they have changed their life and their behavior and their daily routine because of Angelina Jordan. I know I did. I started a YouTube channel. I wouldn't have done that otherwise. I don't know what kind of effect she had on you and your life, T.
Everybody says that I'm very pleased and tickled when people say you will make a great host because you are not afraid of the camera, or that we know that you're very outgoing. And I laugh because I'm not. But when I first started to do live streams, I started doing it with the rock band, The Warning. And I didn't think I could do it with anybody else. And then the Angelina Angels asked me, can you do this and can you do that? And I was like, okay. And now it's my safest space. I love doing it on the first Monday of every month, like clockwork. I'm there for 3-4 hours, and I have the best time ever. YouTube has, or should I say ScrewTube, I'm sorry, has put their stamp on us and cut us off and blocked us so many times, but I refuse to move from YouTube because everybody wants me to stay there. It'll be easier to go to my other platform. But the thing about it is that she has made me how I wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a very outgoing person. I've always wanted to make it very easy to connect with people. I've always wanted to be the one to initiate that connection, to be very easy for me to talk on camera. My one nightmare is to go in front of people on a stage and have to talk to people. And I can't, my teenage self is like, huh? You're doing what as a living? And so it's weird to me that this is what I love now and what I enjoy doing, what I'm good at. It was because of her, I have to say, but AJ's fans are so warm and welcoming and inclusive and encouraging, and if you stumble, they pick you up. So it has been very, very easy for me to find my tribe, and I have to say that I have very many angels there holding me up. So in that sense, she has changed it that way. Psychologically, she has given me a lot of confidence. She has made me want to become a better person. I find it incredibly touching that she finds it touching that people actually like her. It's like, girl, do you listen to yourself? But being proud of yourself doesn't mean you have to be full of myself. You can still hold that humbleness, but be proud in what you can do. But there's a line, and knowing that line, she masters it perfectly. The fact that I am no longer that much of insomniac, that definitely helps. She's giving me opportunities like this. So, you know, it just really made a huge dent in my life in terms of she's made it a little bit better. I live in the Caribbean. And when the pandemic happened, I lost my job, my livelihood. And I was about to quit YouTube again, and I just didn't have the equipment. And I was telling people I was going to go off. And a couple of angels was like, "But why? What happened to you?" And I said, "When I'm able, I will come back." And it was like, they sent out an email without me knowing. And then I just started getting funds. And I'm going to say it publicly because I need to thank everybody. If it wasn't for them, I will not be where I am today. I will not have the equipment that I have. I will not have the life that I have. Honestly, sometimes I don't know how I would survive the next day without that. So being real, she has made an indelible difference in my life. Not just emotionally, physically, but she's also done it to make my life quality better.
She says, "I want to sing for the world," but what she really means is she wants to change the world and she wants to improve
Yes.
the world. And, that all comes together as a package.
True.
Yeah, and I think about the fact that there have been artists that have come close in one of those things, but I've never seen an artist that comes close with all of those things. Michael called on our empathy. Elvis got us excited about new things. I can't really call artists out. People have good voices. They have fantastic songs. Their songwriting ability is out of this world. They can have you happy for 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a day. But who gets you excited? Who makes you a better person? Who encourages you to have friends? She has not put out an album. She has never put out a worldwide, accessible, full-grown album. And yet, she has million. I can say almost, I don't care the fact that the numbers don't show it, which gets me insanely vexed to begin with. Because I don't understand how people could have 5 million and so million people following them and have this much talent that she has. I don't get it. I don't understand why Million Miles doesn't have 350 million viewers on it. So don't get me started on that. Which is the reason why when I go watch reaction videos of AJ, that's all I do all day, besides working. And the thing about it is that I hate reactors who don't send people to her YouTube channel, who send people to her socials, to her Patreon. I have been doing that since day one. Since day one. Nobody had to ask me to do it. Andy and Ron have set up a way that they have always encouraged reactors to do that. And a lot of them have started doing it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a wonderful 10 and 20 years in front of us to see how AJ unfolds to the world. And I can't wait. I want to have a time machine and go 10 years forward and see what happens. I want to see I want to see the ripple in the pond, how big the pond is, and how deep the ripple goes.
Exactly.
If you manage to do that, I want a space on that ticket. For sure.
Well, if I can find the time machine, I'll let you share it with me, okay?
Indeed.
I could absolutely imagine having you back again for our podcast, because this is like taking a teaspoon of water out of the ocean talking to you. The ocean is very, very big, and we're barely making a splash in the ocean with a teaspoon. It's such a rich topic. It's like saying, how many colors can you see in the rainbow? And they merge all the time and they change, and you blink and the rainbow has different colors. And this is sort of like how the Angelina Jordan phenomena is. She's a rainbow in front of our eyes.
Well, indeed, I have to say, I would love, I have no problem with that. Anytime you want me on, just let me know and I'll make time. And, but I'm booking my ticket on the show, definitely, for when she brings out that album. I don't care who you have on this show, I want a seat. Because when she brings out that album, I will probably be losing my mind.
Yeah, we will all be losing our minds, I think.
There was a little video that showed her last week at the Grammys, and she was standing between Monty Lipman and Sir Lucian Grange, who are the chairmen of Republic Records and the parent company of Universal Records. And so they know what they have. They're not putting her on the shelf. They realize that she is pure plutonium, and she is going to cause a radioactive reaction.
Oh my God, I swear to God, I'm the poet and you putting out all the lines. I did see it, and I saw something about AJ having a chat with a reporter during the show from Heidi, America's Top Model of Germany. And so I definitely want to see that. In terms of her meeting the right people, I find she's doing it perfectly. She's being at the right places, meeting the right people, and basically doing her dues, because she's not just waiting on the sidelines, making her album. Whoever it is that is booking these appearances, making sure she's at the right parties, making sure she's at the right events, is doing it in a way that is being very, very tasteful, and just making sure that she is being seen. And even if she was being forgotten or it's taking too long to get her going, no, she's turning up and she's making you hear her voice. So they're doing a spectacular job that way.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with Angelina Jordan fans is that our fans are too impatient. Okay, T, nice talking to you. And this has been a fantastic conversation we've just had. Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I really enjoyed it.
No problem. Thank you for the invite. It has been a whale of a time.
T, normally Pontus asks the question. Pontus, over to you.
Yeah, I almost forgot. You have a request for a song to play here at the end of the podcast episode?
Well, yeah, for sure. I know I mentioned that A Million Miles is my favorite song and it makes me cry every time. I'm not going to do that to myself here in terms of her originals, but in terms of her covers, I go back to her very earliest ones, and that is I Who Have Nothing, simply because I'm a Shirley Bassey fan. She's in my top 3. But yeah, people say she songs like Tom Jones, but I think she is singing the Shirley Bassey version of it. But yeah, I Who Have Nothing.
Yeah, you got it.
You got it. Okay, T. Okay, you take care, love.
You take care.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Thank you, darling.